Hey gang, before we start this month's update, here's an advert. Do you like toy soldiers? Do you like taking photos of toy soldiers? Well, in this video we completely forgot to mention that the amazing Bad Squiddo Games are running a Kickstarter for the new John Hodgson background books, despite the fact that we all own the old ones and have been using them for months. So, here's an advert right at the start instead. The Kickstarter ends on Tuesday, the 6th of February, but if you're watching this after that date, you can still pre-order them, and they're now available in A3 size for extra large models. Look how cool all of Gary's photos are and how easy they are to use. You should buy them. Go and buy them. Buy them. All right, on with the show. Hello, welcome back to Tale of Four Gamers with all four gamers and Andrew the Cat. Hiya.
Andrew the Cat.
Andrew the Cat's gone now. Oh well. Hi everybody. So if you don't know what this is, it's a tale, and we're four gamers, and we monthly get together and just build our armies together. Usually that's themed around one particular game, but right now it's themed around two games because we are playing both Legions Imperialis and the Old World at once because they both came out at the same time. Also in Tale of Four Gamers, there we are. Bobbie has both books
both
ready.
The books this time.
Yeah, actually all arrived. Later on in the episode, we're going to go through your armies. So if you want to build along with us and send in photos and maybe get some hobby motivation, then you can do that through the Patreon and then the Discord channel. We start a little Discord thread every month where you can post your updates if you would like them to be featured, and we will say nice things about them. That's generally what we do. We said we did we're doing two games at the moment. This one is pretty much always going to be focused on the Old World because that's the new game. That's the game that is now out. Came out a couple of weeks ago as we record this. We went to the launch, which is really good. But yeah, so yeah, everyone happy? The Old World is now out. We've got it. We've all gone and bought it. We all bought general books. We all got rule books, right?
Yeah.
Bobbie's have actually arrived.
Yeah, I've got mine.
You got yours.
I don't have the rule book yet. I've got the Ravenous Hordes.
Oh yeah,
Ravening Hordes. I've got that one.
I have to say that I, of course, had all the books weeks ago, just before Christmas, because I'm fancy, and they sent me them so that I could have an opinion. And we 100% definitely didn't. Me and Russ play a few games before it came out to test the rules. But yeah, it's been going pretty well, hasn't it? We played the game. What do we think? What do we think? We've all now played some games. What do you reckon?
Very good. It's very much like what we played in Fifth with a few small tweaks here and there.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think it feels like the same game but updated rather than a different game.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? It feels
Which is
obviously like Warhammer.
Yeah, it's what I wanted as well. I think there was obviously things about 5th edition that could be improved. It wasn't a perfect game. It was a fun game, but it wasn't a perfect game. I've never played 6th, 7th, or 8th, so I don't even know, what bits of what we're playing now came from them.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But I do feel like the charge ranges now make sense to me. It's like, well, yeah, it's like you get your movement guaranteed.
Yeah. And
they've introduced the Swift Stride rule, but then there is that random element to it, which does feel better to me, because otherwise there was this, you could have that thing where nobody wanted to charge, or nobody wanted to get charged, somebody got to charge. Well,
a huge amount of Warhammer was, as far as I remember it, again, they might have fixed these things in 6th, 7th and 8th, but I don't know. A huge amount of Warhammer was not wanting to be the one that got charged.
Yeah.
And the combination...
Whereas now, even if you're going to get charged as well, it's not the end of the world if you've got a very, very high initiative already.
Yeah. And the fact that everyone separates at the end of every combat helps. Again, for all I know, none of us played 6th, 7th and 8th, right? Bobbie, did you?
I played a little bit of 6th, and I'm aware of some of the rules for later editions, but 5th edition was the edition of Fantasy that I've played the most of.
Right, okay.
Yeah. I have the 7th and 8th edition rule books, but never once came even close to actually playing a game with them.
Right, I see. Yeah.
I'd say the thing that's most like the kind of 6th, 7th, 8th is how magic works, with the fact that it's just rolling dice. You've generated your spells, you roll some dice, and that's...
Well, that's another thing, actually. I mean, I miss the cards,
Yeah,
but the magic doesn't feel bad in this, does it?
the magic phase is the thing that I'm least enthused about.
Yeah.
It seems a bit. Yeah, it's not my favorite. Combat is massively improved, and I think that's what you do the most of is fighting in melee, in fantasy. So, and like the way initiative get an initiative bonus for charging rather than just strike first is massive change and a really great one. Because
Lances give you an initiative bonus when you are charged as well. Sorry, spears give you an initiative charge when you are initiative bonus when you are charged. But they've needed that rule since like forever.
Yeah, there's a few little changes that make it just speed it up a bit. We actually played, so we should say we went to the open day. We went to the Old World open day, didn't we? Which was really well attended.
Yeah, too well attended.
Yeah, so well attended we didn't get in at the beginning of the day and had to come back later.
It was crazy.
Mind you, it was actually fun to go to the Dice Cup and play Underworlds. That was a fun game.
So we went. Yeah, I should say. So we went up on the Friday night. Went for some beers on Friday night. Then Saturday morning, attempted to go to Warhammer World at 10:30 a.m. Turned out we thought we'd be clever, right? We thought, there's going to be a big queue at 10 a.m., so we'll go a bit later. That's very clever. Not everyone will be in by then. And we got there at like 10:30, 11 and did like one circuit of the car park. The queue was all the way down round the car park, and people were like, we've been standing here for a couple of hours. They definitely got there like at 9, hoping it would open at 10, and hadn't got in yet because it was too many people for the space. So we just went to the Dice Cup and played Underworlds, which was quite fun. I brought my Underworlds bag, which had enough for 3 people, and Russ had his own. And then went back at like 2 p.m, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
In fact, I would say if people live near Nottingham and haven't been to the Dice Cup, they should.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Nice there.
Really good little war game gaming cafe. So went there, had some tea, had some games of Underworlds. And then we went in about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And it was like I remember the Heresy Open Day being, in that, mostly there were some gaming tables set up that we nabbed a few off. And there was a couple of demo tables where they were running small demo games. And then there was Full Tilt. That was the other thing, right?
That was so much fun.
Yeah, we didn't play that till right at the end. Full Tilt, if anyone doesn't know, when was it? It was like a 90s White Dwarf game.
I think because it was well after the Chivalry card game that they did in White Dwarf, but and it was, so I think it was about 98, because I think it was around the time I stopped reading White Dwarf, which was
right
like 96-ish.
I remember having it,
maybe, and
it's a weird game. So basically, it's a jousting game. You have a number of knights on your team. They have special abilities, and you pick a strategy for the joust. Each time they go against each other and you roll dice. The models don't actually matter, is the weird thing about the game. Like, it's completely irrelevant which models you use.
The distances between the knights or anything.
No. So it's more like a card guessing game. Like, you pick results to see which one's the best one. But Nick Baton and Si were running it with some massive dice and a red and a blue team. I played on a red team and lost. I think when I played the first game, I was with 2 guys there, and with Luke Nyland and a few other people, and we got the worst score anyone had ever got playing it all day. And we were probably the last game.
That score was 0, right?
Yeah, it was 0. We got 0 broken lances in Full Tilt. Yeah, and then you 3 played as quatre joueurs. Which is probably some sort of French for 4 gamers. But obviously with 3 completely, absolutely fine and completely normal Bretonnian knights. Yep.
Totally regular knights.
Totally
normal in every way, with no chaos mutations whatsoever,
no
extra tendencies.
No extra hands at all. And I think lost again, but not as badly.
Yeah. We had a fantastic habit of rolling exactly the wrong dice at exactly the wrong time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they had enough little side things to do. They had the Full Tilt, And then they had the cabinets full of all the miniatures that are currently being released, plus the orcs, which are next.
And the other room, which we all forgot about, but we did go in the other room, and the other room had.
I had a wander over.
It was a scrap demon, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just a build and they just had a load of bits and build and paint thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a build and paint, which we didn't have enough time to do. And then there was a base exchange, which we were unprepared for. We didn't know to bring our old bases.
It's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
And of course, the other main activity is the shop.
Yes. Yes, there was a lot of... So yeah, there was a base exchange, which we all forgot about. But yeah, you could have brought your bases and swapped them for the new 30mm ones. And then there was the shop, which definitely sold out before we... I mean, that's why everyone was queuing, right? Yeah, the
well,
shop...
I still got my Thanatar. That's what matters.
You bought a Thanatar, which had nothing to do with the old world. Yeah, if you were buying stuff that had nothing to do with the old world, it was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think by the time we got in there, they'd run out of rule books and they'd run out of almost all the Tomb King stuff. I think you could still buy the army set.
Yeah,
I think they brought up some more stock later on, and then that all sold almost instantly as well. It was, yeah, it seems like it's selling well, if nothing else. So.
Yeah, it definitely, I think, beat their expectations.
Yeah,
you know.
which has got to be good for the game. I did wonder if we were saying this, like, is it because the sort of people who are going to be playing the old world are the sort of people who can also just get in their car and drive to Nottingham on a Saturday if they fancy it?
Yeah.
If their kids don't like it, tough, their kids have to come anyway.
Exactly, right? It's a day out, whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was...
Like, hey, I'm playing my game.
The queue was massive, but there wasn't a lot of people carrying their armies in. I think it was mostly people queuing up to get access to the shop there.
Yeah.
And
I think it was people queuing up to buy stuff.
I mean, I felt like I had a small advantage in that I'd played against you, Ian, and so I knew like what I could bring as an army.
Yeah.
And you wrote an army list for Bobbie because Bobbie hadn't had a chance to sort of sort out how to use her vampire counts as Tomb Kings for a day. So I think most people were there to get the rules.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to bring in order to actually have a game.
Yeah, that's true.
But there was it about 4 or 5 tables of practice games?
Yeah, that's right.
Like how to learn how to play. And there was a big table, it looked like, maybe it was a 12x4, I'm not sure, of the other crowd playing like a four player game each side or something.
Yeah, there was some sort of big game going on. I think a lot of people brought armies, figured the armies out there, and then started playing a little game. But I think, to be honest, the majority of people playing were the people playing the little demo games they did, where it was just like, you know, 5 knights, 10 archers versus some skeletons.
And I think if they'd have had a couple more tables, they'd probably have had more people. But it wasn't like there was massive queues to get a demo game. I think it was just...
I mean, there might have been in the morning for all I know. I mean, we weren't there.
Yeah, well,
so
true.
Who knows?
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was also the incredible big diorama.
Oh, that was amazing.
Oh, that yeah.
So there was.
But they've already said in Warhammer Community that that's not on display yet because after they looked at it, they said, "Hang on a minute, let's add these bits to it before we put it in the tour." So they're taking it back away again to make it even bigger and better.
Yeah. It was really well done. It's a really good storytelling diorama of like an assault on a Bretonnian fortress. Yeah.
I didn't stop and look at it for long enough, unfortunately.
So a few people I heard other people make the same comment that we had, that there was no trebuchet impacts anywhere in the rank. So I think
maybe that's what they were.
And if that was the feedback they got, then they were like, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do that easily.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I think if you're doing Bretonnians, one of the clever things to do would have been to build some sort of invisible construction that allows you to do like a flying lance of Pegasus Knights.
That would be cool,
that would be a good thing. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was all really good. So yeah, I mean, like there wasn't. We basically played a bit of a game to get a test out of the rules, played some full tilt, and went home. And then we popped back the next day for some shopping, and it was back to being normal. It was like a Warcry tournament going on.
And we weren't able to play in Bugman's. We were like, oh, can't we?
Yeah, weird choice. I didn't realise they did this. So we got out. We thought, okay, we'll play some Underworlds in Bugman's. And then we got told to stop because they don't allow gaming in Bugman's when there's an event on in the main space. which makes sort of sense in that it was like, okay, well, you want people to be going for lunch in Bugman's, because there's loads and loads of people in the main space. But all that meant was that we just sat there chatting for 45 minutes instead of sitting there playing Shadespire. So table was still in use anyway.
To be fair, they were very polite and apologetic. I think they should have a sign up saying
probably need some sort of sign for that.
Please, no gaming when da 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 da, or a big sign say yes or no, you may or may not play games or something.
Yeah.
They can just slide it back and forth like an open or closed sign.
I think it was a bit cheeky because they were telling us to stop doing that, but we were all sitting with cups of teas and glasses of Coke, so we were consuming sitting, having a break from the main hall.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. It was just a bit odd, wasn't it?
Yeah, if I ordered a sausage, would we be okay then?
But it's a Games Workshop. They sell lots of games, and if we just purchase Shadespire, there's nowhere to play it. There should be a place to play your game.
Good point. Yeah, but so anyway, we did. Yeah, that's what we did. Open day, old world, and then home. We bought our stuff. Bobbie, you wished you'd actually bought it there instead of pre-ordering.
Yeah, it did take a few days after the release date for mine to actually end up getting shipped.
Yeah, same for me.
Like
mine arrived on Thursday after we were there.
It seems like there's like a continuing issue with Games Workshop's mail order. They're a bit behind, and so it seems to be able to catch up. Hopefully there's I think this weekend there's not a lot of pre-orders, so hopefully they'll have a bit of a lull for a few days that they can catch up
a bit,
all the orders,
And similar, Legions Imperialis still waiting on quite a lot of stuff for that.
Mm-hmm.
The shelves are empty in the Warhammer World Legion Imperialis. I think the only thing that was like a box of a Titan, like there was no end.
A couple of Titans and a couple of the Forge World Knights, and that was about it.
And they had a large section set aside for Legion Imperialis, but all the shelves were empty. It was again is a good sign.
In a way, it's a good sign.
Yeah.
If you're buying it, it's a good sign in a way.
I would have maybe picked up a few more bits and pieces, but nothing there to buy.
No, but thankfully with the old world, one of the interesting things with it is that, of course, we've all got armies already, and we've all got plenty of models. So we didn't necessarily need to buy much apart from books. Now, and with that, that's my seg into my transition into the bit where we talk about what we're building. But yeah, so it's going to be quite old world heavy, right? Because we've all been doing stuff, but I will start with Bobbie and my line in the notes that says "Update goes here." What have you been building, Bobbie?
Quite a fair bit. I've been working on some more for my vampire accounts. Not that I really need them. With the new army list, the Legacies army list, I did sort of add up what I've got, and I've got about 4,000 points in the old world, which you would think would be enough. But
you're about halfway there, Bobbie. Yeah.
Yeah, about halfway there. I've been working on various stuff. I had some undead bits and pieces, some skeleton halberdiers, and some familiars that I'd got from Kickstarter by Die Hard Miniatures. So I've been painting those up. They're very nice, a bit different from Games Workshop stuff, but yeah, I think they fit in with my army well enough. Also managed to pick up the Juan Diaz Lamy and Vampire on foot and mounted. Yeah. One of the sculpts, because he did a different version as well, which I would like, but I already spent far too much on those two models. They're quite popular on the second-hand market. So also worked on a bunch more zombies. I know many episodes ago I said I was done with zombies after I painted 55 of them. But apparently I was not quite done with zombies. I actually picked these up on one of the Facebook trade groups from a viewer of the channel. So hello, these are your zombies again. I've only sort of done the basic paint on them. I need to go in and do some splattering of blood and dirt and making them just as grimy as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Also picked up a corpse cart.
Oh yeah.
Picked that up from Element Games in Nottingham whilst we were there, because that's a new unit essentially. I think that might have come in for 8th edition.
Yeah,
fantasy.
I think it was definitely
right near the end.
It wasn't in 5th edition when we were playing, but it was, yeah.
But that's in the vampire PDF army list. So I was like, well, I've got all these zombies. I should get the unit that buffs zombies. And so that's not quite finished. I still need to paint the corpse master and all the details. That kit is definitely showing its age. I've managed to get it together, but the instructions are poor, very poor, and I can see how it'd be very easy for someone to start assembling it in the wrong order, and you wouldn't be able to get it together properly.
Yeah, I will have a similar thing to say when I get to my building. Yeah, when the things you realise when building these old world these old fantasy kits.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain to get the kind of the cradly bit of wood, and all the corpse pile is 2 pieces. So trying to get that to all line up is a bit fiddly. But I did manage it. That isn't all I've been working on.
No, you've got other stuff too. You had some skeletons though for the that army as well.
I have, yes, a bunch of skeletons. Look, because the Tomb Kings have come out.
Yep. And
the Tomb King's regular skeletons is still the same old 90s plastic skeleton sprue that the rest of my skeletons are.
Yeah, exactly.
So I managed to pick up some brand new skeletons for my mid-90s undead army.
It's the same old skeleton sprue with a separate Tomb King fancy hat sprue.
Grabbed some on eBay because someone had parted out a box, so I didn't even pay too much for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another 30 skeletons because I had a few extra bodies that I'd not quite got around to doing. Because like making 10 skeletons, that's almost nothing. It's not really worth it, but a good chunk, another 30 will definitely help. I had noticed a little bit of an oddity in the Vampire Counts rules that skeletons always have light armor, so it's just baked into their costs. So all my skeletons can have light armor and shields now, so that's not a problem. They won't be modelled with it because only some of my models have armor, but I'm sure most opponents will be absolutely fine with it.
And then you've been playing some.
You're cheating again, Bobbie.
Again.
And then you've been doing some Legions Imperialis as well.
I did. I actually managed to pick up another box of Astartes Infantry. I've seen them sort of come into stock on quite a few different web stores, and then they're gone by the time I get there to order some. But I did manage to snag another box. So those all have been painted up Imperial Fists. They do look very much like the first box I did, but I promise these are a second batch of Imperial Fists infantry. Getting there with that army, it's growing. I've got to get round to actually writing some proper army lists for it and seeing what I can do with the force I have now. But as we've said before, it's a little bit odd. There's no land raiders, and quite a lot of the units I want to field just don't exist yet. So hopefully that's coming.
We'll find out when this new book comes out, won't we?
Probably by the time this episode's up, they'll have announced it and we'll look foolish.
Yeah.
I did a bit of terrain as well. I bought some liquid fuels, I think Prometheum storage tanks from the Necromunda range. I just didn't stick the pipe connectors or the gantries on them, and they make quite nice, great big like
silos,
like gas silos or something. They have that sort of look at Imperialis scale. So
yeah, that's really good. That works really well, actually.
And they're not exactly expensive. The set was, I think, set's like £25 for some big chunky bits of terrain, but
really
didn't seem like it was too expensive. And I've built them. They're kind of in 2 pieces, so I can either make them all the medium height or make 2 tall ones and 2 short ones.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of variety there for
amazing,
playing the terrain a bit different.
Very, very productive, Bobbie. Lots of stuff done. That's a ton of different things made.
And another month of me sitting and just getting on with stuff.
I
swear, when I actually get to play games, it really motivates me to go on and do painting and hobbying and getting stuff done. And it's very helpful.
Amazing. Well, that all looks great. Russ, how have you been doing? You've mostly been old worlding?
Yeah, I've not done much that's visible in terms of actual progress. I had one of those months where I've been really busy at work with like parents' evenings and marking exams and stuff. So not as much as I would have liked. And what I've mostly done has mostly been sort of behind the scenes stuff. One fairly big job was stripping the paint off a very large number of beastmen and minotaurs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've done a good job. Of eBaying and stripping. So I've now got enough for a unit of gauze, a unit of bestigores, and a unit of, probably I'll use them as ungors because they've got spears, even though they aren't ungors because they've actually got, well, some of them got like tentacles instead of horns. Because I've got lots of the old Jess Goodwin and Bobbie beastmen from the 80s.
Yeah. And that's your plan for this old world, right? Is to do a Beastie Man army. Yeah,
to do a Beastman army. So I've had them for a long time, planning to do them. And this is the incentive to make them my next job. So I've sat down and I'm ready to go getting them started now. They're all on the way. I have done one unit so far of 6 harpies. It's the old Ronald Reagan, Nancy Reagan and Maggie Thatcher harpies that he did. Yeah. So I've got those 6 done because I back in the day I stripped 6 harpies so that I had 6 still painted in their paint jobs from 1991-ish when I first ever started using them. So now I can strip the old ones and paint them the same way as these. And I'm actually really pleased with how they look. I took the basic recipe from a guy on Instagram that I found called JP Miniatures. Mm-hmm. And he's got a lovely looking Beastman army. I sort of scoured through the Beastman, deciding how I wanted to paint my own. And his was the one that sort of struck me as, yes, that's the look I want. And it's Rakarth flesh, thinned agrax, and then Rakarth flesh and the other skin color that came out at the same time for the underwater elves.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the name of that. Yeah, I know what you mean though.
But anyway, that, and then the hair's just Wraithbone and agrax to try and give I wanted a really pale blonde like Rutger Hauer or Gary Busey, that sort of very pale blonde. And actually, sometimes when you paint something, you might be happy with it, but it's not how you visualized it. Yeah. I think I've actually got this how I visualized it with the sort of very dark eyes and. But I put some effort into the face, even though you never look up on the battlefield. But I think it looks nice. I think they look kind of how I wanted. The only bit I'm not really happy with is the feet.
Right.
But I'll live with it. They're okay. So anyway, that's broadly speaking what the army's going to look like. It's going to be that skin tone everywhere, and a variety of sort of blacks and browns for fur. Yeah, Minotaurs and Spawn the same way. And I've been, I think the only other thing I've done is I've done a couple of Old World videos. I'm going to try and do another one after this, just about sort of my mentality towards building my Beastmen and my Chaos Warriors lists, and probably do one for Demons as well. I might do one for Orcs because at some point I might get to my Orcs. But it's not really going to be like an overview like a lot of people do. It's going to be literally talking through my thought process of how I put an army together. And thinking about it unit by unit that way instead of just describing the list. But, people might watch it, they might not.
How are you doing with Legions Imperialis stuff?
I honestly don't think I've had time to get much done. I don't know if I've done anything since the last time we filmed. I've moved it around in the spare room a lot so it gets out of the way. I think that's probably it. My attention went on Old World, just getting 1 or 2 things done for that. And I feel really bad because I haven't lost. I was so worried about people losing their enthusiasm for Legions Imperialis. And I haven't lost my enthusiasm for it, but it's been supplanted by Old World at the moment. Yeah. And I do need to actually force myself to sit. I think if I force myself to sit down and finish my infantry, I think I'll enjoy painting the vehicles more. And then same for my buildings. My buildings, all I need to do, they're all ready. I just need to spray them black and sponge them, and they'll be done. Plus, I'll just do some copper roofs and some brick roofs and stuff, and then I'll have a little nice terrain kit. But Old World is the thing that's seizing my attention at the moment. Even just sort of sitting there planning out armies and then reassessing it and thinking to myself, oh no, I should do it like this instead or like that instead. And I feel like I've got everything I want for this army.
Right.
But that's it. Yeah, rubbish progress.
Not visible progress, but it looks like we've all been thinking about things and moving things around. Yeah. That's the important thing. Gary, you've also been mostly thinking about Legions Imperialis.
Yeah, I've not really got very far with the Space Marines. I've assembled the missile launchers on the sprue, and clipped the dreadnoughts off, and then I undercoated them all grey, and then I put them aside. I did the bases. I mean, I fully painted all the bases for the infantry.
Yeah.
And then it was around about then I started looking at Old World. So
yeah. It's difficult. It's going to be difficult to keep them both going at once. But I think there's possibly like a critical mass that each army will get to, where we're suddenly actually playing both of these.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think once I get the Space Marines to a point where I can play a game at 1,000 points or something, it'll be easier to add on another couple of units of tanks to become more exciting.
Yeah, and we all know a lot more about what we need in an Old World army because we've actually been playing fantasy a bit more regularly, whereas apart from Russ, most of us haven't been playing Epic that much. And
also, we're kind of still also throwing in the previous game, which is Horus Heresy. Like we're playing Aiden's campaign of the Siege of Cophonia. So that's a little bit of time as well. I mean, not that much, one evening or so a month, but it's still hobby time.
Yeah. So you did some heresiing and then moved on to Bogglings.
Some of the army builders online started to fill up with all the Ravening Horde's army lists. And I very quickly realized I don't have any core because all the things that I would use to count as Fimmer are in special. So I needed to come up with core. And Russell joked that I should do Snotlings.
Yeah.
When I looked at them, they're actually quite expensive. They're 35 points a base. So I can, several bases quite quickly would get that 25%. And I said, yeah, sod it, I'm doing it.
Well, the reason I thought that was because you've already got like the same thing on individual bases for using your Fimir Blood Bowl team.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so it just seems like, well, if you got like Bogglings and Fimir for a Blood Bowl team, you should have Bogglings and Fimir for your army as well.
Yeah, I agree. Bogglings everywhere.
I did the exact version, which was Nurglings, a bunch of green stuff armor. In this case, I tried to give them a little chainmail around the neck and and then a zombie head of some sort on top. Done. I did 11 bases. I cheaped out by picking 3 per base. Yeah, and I did pick the biggest Nurglings I could find, so I'd fill the base a bit more.
We just say Bogglings are tougher than Snotlings, so that's why.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I didn't have wounds they had because I didn't have the Ravening Horde's book until I bought it at Warhammer World. And when I looked at it, they've got 6 wounds each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The base is a lot to chew through. I think maybe I should have put 4 Bogglings per base now that I think about it. But yeah, it's done.
It's done.
And then you actually played with them. Played against me at the Warhammer World.
Yeah, it was basically when you charged them and we were in combat. And I was like, all right, let's find out how. Like you did something like 4 wounds. And I was like, all right, I guess that's probably a base and a half or something. Like, oh no, that's not even basing. They're all fighting back.
Mad.
Yeah, of course they don't run away because they're all crazy and they throw poo at you.
They are a really good tar pit unit. They're immune to fear and psychology and terror, all that stuff. And they're unbreakable. So if they die in combat, they just move back 2 inches and go, come on again.
Yeah. And also impetuous, so you can't quite control if they're going to do anything.
Yeah, and 5 attacks per base meant I didn't have enough dice.
Yeah.
So, it's the first time in my army that I was like, oh, I need to borrow some dice, rolling, 30 dice for an attack or something.
Wow.
Yeah, but it did nick a couple of wounds off your Chaos Warriors, which is hilarious. And then in combat, they also did about 4 wounds to your Chaos Lord.
Yeah, they did. They're just a number of dice. Like, especially because we weren't playing with we weren't playing with magic items and all that. So the Chaos Lord was just a guy with a sword on a Manticore. And you attack the guy with sword on a Manticore. You always attack the rider in this edition. So just sheer weight of dice will kill people. It's not the Hero Hammer edition it's based on. Like essentially when you're riding a monster, what happens is your armor save and wounds goes up. but you always attack the rider.
The other thing that really helped, even if you go into one end of their formation, the whole front rank gets to fight.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if you're only in base contact with 2 of them on the front, all 5 bases get to fight back, which is really good.
So yeah, we didn't completely finish the game because obviously we were checking every single rule all the time, and we wanted to play full tilt.
Yeah, I mean, we got enough through it so I could see what was happening. The only things that I would have liked to have done a bit more was I didn't get to find out what the giant does in combat because it kept whipping charges.
I cast evil magic at you.
Yeah, you had that. Your magic was really good.
Yeah, I cast a spell called Phantasmagoria, which I only took because it was called Phantasmagoria. And basically, you put down a little template, and it stays there the whole game, and anything nearby get panics.
Yeah, you have to take panic tests every turn if you move within range of it. It counts as difficult terrain, hampering anybody moving through it.
Yeah, or anyone charging, because the way charges work is you roll, you basically, it's your movement plus the highest of 2d6, unless you go through terrain, and then it's the lowest of 2d6.
Yeah.
So
and you had a shooting magic attack, which was quite good.
Yeah, pink fire. I learned some magic. I did some chaosing. It was fun.
Pretty much the month, wasn't it?
Yeah, that is pretty much everything we did. So yeah, I'll follow on from that by going into what I've been doing because chaos, innit? I'll start elsewhere though. I did do quite a lot of Legions in Imperialis at the start of the month. I have painted 2 boxes worth of Solar Auxiliary Infantry. They are done. It was horrible. I don't want to do it again. That's all the infantry. I'm not painting anymore. That's how I feel about that. It was they're bright yellow. I painted them all on the sprue and then clipped them off. I painted all the bases at once. I've put them on their bases. I never have to do tiny little Solar Auxiliary ever again. I'm very pleased about that.
Well, you don't have to do tiny little Solar Auxiliary.
No, well, now it's tanks, which at this scale are a bit more fun to paint. So yeah, they're done. They weren't particularly fun, but they're done, and I don't have to do any more. And I've got 2 starter sets worth. So I'm looking forward to just moving on to Knight and Titans now, and all the bigger tanks, which are still sitting on the hobby desk. Other things have got in the way, but yeah, I think they look good. They pop, which is quite nice. And hopefully, when I do my tanks, which are grey with yellow stripes, they'll work. They look good next to that quick terrain I built a couple of months ago on the laser cutter, so I might have to just print off a load more of those and just quickly build up my cityscape of interesting Ian Mark 1 terrain. That'd be quite good to do. And then I moved on. So I was lucky enough to be sent, just before Christmas, all of the old world stuff, like an absurd amount of old world stuff. I got offered one of the army boxes. I said, I'll do Tomb Kings. I figured Skellies would be easier to paint than Bretonnians. And I got that, Forces of Fantasy, Ravening Hordes, both the, Arcane Journals, and the rulebook, and some movement trays as well. So I'm all set up, and I started assembling them, thinking, I'll just assemble this box in a day. They're only old-fashioned skeletons. Oh my God. Much as Bobbie was saying, you really notice the age of these kits. Those skeletons are 4 to a sprue. You get 4 skeletons on each sprue, very widely spaced out, and they come as separate legs, torsos, left arms, right arms, and heads. Which, at the scale of a skeleton, like what you're actually connecting to each other, is absolutely tiny. Even with plastic glue, you're sort of holding things in place. They're really wonky. So, like a skeleton archer is legs, torso, head, bandolier, a bow arm, and knocking arm, just to get one together. It was pretty. They were not fun to assemble at all. So originally I was like, maybe I won't do these. I'll just get a couple of squads assembled and take a photo of them. But once I got them assembled and started painting them, painting was great. The painting was really, really fun. Sprayed them prime and bone with an army painter spray. Gave them a zenithal Corax white. Then basically just did the leather bits, the metal bits, and the wood bits, and then covered them in what's it called? Verdigris paint. Basing was really, really quick. I had a brief excursion on using some of the texture paints before I gave up as it taking too long and just did gravel with a highlight and a few tufts. And that was really, really fun. So actually, after painting like 20 skeleton spearmen and 10 skeleton archers, that was so fast that I decided to do the skeleton dragon. So I got the skeleton dragon done. Again, really quick, really happy with him. Did a bit of a conversion. So this is Snappy the Neck Crocodile. And Snappy the Neck Crocodile doesn't have any wings. He just takes big leaps because I thought he looked more like a crocodile that way. And on top of him, you can build that kit 2 ways. It's a bit weird how they did the building of it. You've basically got 2 ways you can build the Howder on top. It can either be a mortuary priest with a great big bird and in raggedy rags sitting down, or it can be like a platform where your Tomb King stands on the platform at the front. But if you build the mortuary priest, then the standing legs can be used to build a Tomb King on foot, but not the other way around. So I did a load of chopping up, and I made a Tomb King sitting with the platform, but he's actually sitting on the seat with a shield and a big halberd. And then I chopped up the rest of the parts and made myself a mortuary priest standing. So I'll still get him. So yeah, he's all good. The Neck Crocodile is out. And yeah, then I got a bit carried away and I enjoyed painting those so much that I went on eBay and looked for more skeletons that someone else has already built. So that I can, so I've now expanded my army. I've got a load of old Tomb Kings models there, which thankfully someone else has done the hard work of building, and I can just paint now. So that's quite nice. They're already like semi-painted, but who cares? I'll just paint over them. I'm not going to bother stripping them. They're skeletons. So yeah, that's my old world's. Thanks Warhammer for sending me all that, but I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm pretty confident that I can get them working quickly, get them up to speed quickly, and play games with them, which is nice. But I don't have enough for a full army. So for the actual gaming day, I bought my old Slaves to Darkness. So this is an army that I built. I played Age of Sigmar 2nd a bit, and I played it with the Tzeentch Demon army. And then I thought, oh, you know what? I'm playing this a bit. I'll build all my old 90s stupid-looking Chaos Warriors, which I love. So these are the late 90s, heads are somewhere in their torsos, derpy-looking Chaos Warriors. Yeah, exactly what Gary is doing, the impression now. That's what a Chaos Warrior looks like. Yeah, as everyone knows. So I had loads of those. I got loads of them cheap off eBay, and I was building away happily. And I thought I'll put them all on round bases to play Age of Sigmar with, and then didn't. And they've basically the whole army got built, painted pink like normal, put it based lovely on these resin bases I built, and then put in a box, and I've never used them. So anyway, they never really got out. So I'm going to rebase them. Basically, they're going to be my instant ready to go army. They're all the right models for that era. I've even got like things like Acold Hellbrass, and I've got a Chaos Dragon, and I've got a Manticore. So they're all exactly the right models. I'm gonna rebase them. So the only thing I really bought at Warhammer World on Old World Day was a big bag of new 30mm bases. I wanted to get it done earlier. There was this idea I had about I was going to 3D print some scenic 30mm resin bases and then cast them myself so that I could just have loads. But I just didn't. The 3D print failed during the week, and I didn't have time at work to really do it again. And so I haven't, and I'm just going to do the same way. I think some interesting coloured tufts. I've got a big selection of tufts I've not used, so I'm going to pick a stupid colour for them, and some grey, gravelly, sort of ash wasty plains. I bought my bases. They're on the painting table. I have a Slaves to Darkness army. It'll take me like a few days, and then I'll have a Slaves to Darkness army ready to go. But yeah, so that's my hobby progress. Legions Imperialis, I just need to do the tanks. Slaves to Darkness need rebasing, and I've got a load of skeletons to paint. But I could place. I could play Warhammer now. I just need to get some sort of movement tray solution in the meantime. But I think the quickest thing to do is just do the basing, bite the bullet, a couple of days, do all the basing, and then I've got a working Slaves to Darkness army.
What's the current state of your Khorne Demons?
So I've got Khorne Demons for 5th edition, and I've got a load more that I built on round bases for 40k. So I could always build up that army. But the problem is, the more Khorne Demons I build on square bases, the less I have for 40k. Or Heresy.
Well,
I was kind of using them a bit in Heresy.
Put them all on put them all on round bases and get appropriate movement trays for them.
Yeah, could do that. Or the other option is go, well, look, the Khorne ones, really, when I'm using demons nowadays, I'm using them in Heresy as allies. That's
why I plan to actually build my Khorne demons as usable in Old World.
Yeah.
With a movement tray, 5th edition with a different movement tray, and in Horus Heresy because they're on round bases.
Yeah. Well, you do get some of the slight problem though of which is what I was worried about with the Slaves to Darkness, that they're on 32 mil rounds per Horus Heresy, which means that their unit size is a bit too big when you put them on a movement. But maybe I don't
think it specifies a size of base for it in Heresy though.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, so you could put them you're thinking.
So mine are on 25s, and I plan to leave them that way. And I mean, I'm never going to use. I don't think I'll ever use my Khorne demons in any sort of competitive environment. Barely even a, like day narrative thing. And if anyone had an issue, I'd just be like, all right, well, I'll spread them out a bit more for you then. There you go.
Yeah. I guess the other option, because the other thing is we occasionally play 5th edition at the same time, right? So now I'm going to have a Slaves to Darkness army, which is two slaves. I'm going to have 2 Old World armies on bases that are too big for 5th edition.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have I've got the option of Khorne demons on square bases. I suppose I could rebase them all onto 32 and just not play 5th edition again. Yeah, fuck it. That's what I'll do.
I think retiring is like, it's hard to keep them balanced for both. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got enough armies to do
28
mil
bases.
The other option is I could just move all the Khorne demons onto square 25s for 5th edition. And when I'm playing Heresy, I'll just use them as Tzeentch demons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a load of options there. Personally, I don't know how people feel about this, but I'm not that up. I don't want to be playing 2 different versions of Warhammer Fantasy Battles at the moment.
I'm going to certainly concentrate at the moment on the Old World. I don't want to rule out playing 4th or 5th again, though. But I do want to concentrate on the Old World for now.
Yeah. It's more like edition slip. Like the idea of playing 7th edition and 3rd edition 40k would be mind-boggling, literally. I don't want my mind.
Well, you say that, but in the past, I'm not playing 40k at all right now, but I feel like I'm essentially playing Horus Heresy and 2nd edition 40k.
Oh yeah, you are occasionally.
It is basically 2 versions of 40k, and I think that it would be weird to play like 2 neighbouring editions, maybe, but I think 5th edition isn't. I'm not playing that for any reason other than nostalgia.
Yeah.
And I think there's things you can't do, because I think obviously we've spoken about this anyway, that you don't have the full array of monsters to every single army.
Yeah.
But also, as another thing, manticores are no longer available except as a mount. And I've got 3 of the very early manticores that they're not big enough to use as a mount. And you can only use one of them in a 5th edition army even. So I might end up playing a bit of 4th edition Warhammer.
Yeah. But at least it's the same base size, Russ. So, yeah, anyway, look, there's loads of options there. I've got too many models. I can do an army on different bases each time. It'll be fine. But I think, to be honest, at the moment, the plan is Slaves to Darkness rebase and then Tomb Kings for Old World. And if I have to play 5th edition Heresy or something like that, I've got models. I'll just put them on the right basis. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But, yeah, that's my progress. So what we should do now is we will do everyone else's progress. So we've been asking, as we said, if you want to build along, we do this all the time now. Join the Patreon. There's a tier that will give you Discord access. And then we have a lovely Discord where people post their progress and get ideas. And one of the things we do is we ask them to submit to a couple of threads every month with their progress. So we have some great community progress in both games, and I've just mixed them up by people. I'm starting with Will Iredell. Submitted options for both, so they've submitted Old World Goblins. This is what 286 metal and plastic models look like when retrieved from Old Hammer storage, my mum's loft, which is interestingly where my Slaves to Darkness were retrieved from this weekend.
Not to mention all of my stuff. Yeah.
I actually spent a day this week reflooring that loft so I'd have more storage. But yeah, so apart from the 20 goblin spears near the front, none have been touched in 30 years. There are some more odd ones hanging around. I'm going to print some standard bearers and musicians to add. So that's a huge
that
goblin
set of
army.
models does look suspiciously similar to my own set of orcs.
Yeah, I think that's what you had back then, right? That's like
those white plastic orcs. I love those models.
I suppose also like they were a lot of the things like Doom Divers would have been released over a span of time that there'd be a new release every 6 months, so that's what your pocket money went on. So everyone had a Doom Diver and everyone had a chariot and everyone had a spear thrower. Yeah, so
just those blocks of goblins from the 4th edition box there. It's just they bring back such wonderful memories.
Proper goblin army. Yeah, so that's Will's goblin army. He's also been painting Ultramarines for Legions Imperialis. Working on some Ultramarines, there's also a test scheme for a Blood Angels Rhino and a few Solar Auxilia. So getting there, starting off the Legions list with the box contents there. Very good. Other Will, there's a lot of Wills. There's always a lot of Wills in the Patreon Discord. Other Will with one L has been getting back out the old world wood elves. So haven't had much in the way of time to build or hobby, but I've managed to gather most of my project thanks to some amazing luck finding a hobby store that had everything on the left of the photo just sitting on the shelf. An army book, characters and horses were built out. A teenage army of the parents' loft again. And Mark from the Discord built a tree man from spares. From Warhammer Secret Santa. So an army slowly coming together.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's been up in the loft this weekend. So that's what Old World's done.
I think especially since those PDFs came out. Yeah, everyone's up in the loft digging out. Ed from the club has got back in touch, and he's expanding the fantastic. This is from if anyone remembers the very first Tale of Four Gamers. Ed built an entire army mostly made of like battle masters and empire sculpts. The Grand Duchy of Einposen of single pose units. The single pose halberdiers, single pose archers, single pose knights, all the monopose units. So they've been expanding, and that means going into non-monopose. So I don't know how I feel about this. Ed's using the old world as an excuse to base up, paint more models from the pile of opportunity. The flagellants are not plastic monopose, unfortunately, so straying from the brief. But they are lovely. But the plastic handgunners regiment is fully on brand. A row of 2 pose handgunners. Zweiposen. They're from the neighbouring Zweiposen. I wonder how many poses.
It's like what do you call it? A cadet branch or something? Is that how you call it?
How many poses are the flagellants anyway? There were never that many.
They're here from Zweiposen to support their lineage.
Yeah. So the Duchy of Einposen has been expanded into the Duchy of Zweiposen with these handgunners. Brilliant, good progress there. Arsa has then started with an old world Dark Elves. So story time. I wanted to do a classic Oldhammer army after watching the Tale of Four Gamers. Started with 4th edition. Yeah, the original series. Starting with 4th edition.
We've now been around enough that we have a TOS.
Yeah, exactly. And got a bunch of the 2nd and 3rd edition. Got a bunch of the 2nd edition, 3rd edition Dark Elves as a donation. Traded all my 4th edition Dark Elves away to get more 80s elves, and now has 2,000 points of Dark Elves that are older than they are. Latest edition was this banner for the Witch Elves following the trend you can see with the Cold One Knight. So very large illustrated banners on ancient Dark Elves. This reminds me of Nathan's Dark Elf army, which is similarly vintage.
These are even older. Like Nathan's got some as old as this, but most of Nathan's are even slightly newer.
Oh, wow.
I spot again. This is another. We've seen the old original Warhammer Regiments box. It was like the very first plastic fantasy after the drastic plastic. And so we've seen from Will's army that he had the white orcs and the little goblin archers in white at the back. And the archers in this are from that same box. But considering how old it is, and it wasn't the best sculpts ever, they weren't bad. It gets around a lot, you know?
Yeah. Cordal is then playing. So Nick is joining in with the old world. As usual, that involves some terrifying and ridiculous sculpting. They have built the first units. They're going to do a army. The idea is to have a small empire force built around condottiere, which are mercenary group, like medieval Italian mercenary groups, which fits, right? Because that's kind of what the whole Tilia vibe is anyway.
Yeah.
They've started with a one warrior, one swordsman there, with a lot of sculpting work put into it to make it look a bit more Renaissance Italian. And then a wizard who is like a sort of, I saw the fluff for this, it's like a weird salt vampire person.
Right.
It's like because the whole thing is the old world is set before there were colleges of magic. So all the wizards are just terrifying.
He's delighted, as am I, obviously, because we're looking at potentially seeing Black Shield's rules.
Yes.
So I dare say we'll see a lot from him on Instagram. And the two of us are both like, oh, what are they going to give us? What are they going to give us? And that might be the subject. That might be the reason I get no Legions Imperialis at Old World done in 1 or 2 episodes' time.
Because you're building Black Shields. Yeah. Finally, you get to play with the Black Shields as the Black Shields.
Yeah.
And we're going to end up doing Tale of 4 games, but we're all playing different games.
Exactly.
Anymore.
We're sort of giving ourselves till summer with this stuff, and then there's I've got a plan of what we're going to do for the rest of the year. Might be thrown by whatever gets released for the rest of the year, but we'll see. Anyway, moving on. Jeannie, so we're going into the Legiones Imperialis again. Jeannie started something. Well, they finished something at least. This will be about 1,500 points of Solar Auxilia with a Titan and Knight for supports. Not sold on the lighter base rim, but the orange is growing on me. Hope this scheme is simple enough to keep the energy up. And then the plan is to get some old world figured out next month. But yeah, so Solar Auxilia are getting there. A lot of building happening and a little bit of painting. I do like that sort of like pale Le Mans scheme with a big block colour done. Like two strong colours is a good way to do Imperialis, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think having at least one bright colour in there for the pop really does help.
So that's done. That's looking good. Tom has been doing a load of stuff. So missed last month. So here's effectively all the progress they've made since the release. Working on salamanders, as I've not played lots of green armor before. And there's options for flame freehand on tiny models. Also got a first game in with 1,000 points against them against some Solar Auxilia. So there's loads here. Very pretty army with a nice backdrop. And then some lovely banners, a bit of very detailed commanders down there, some dreadnoughts, some knights with some, again, absurd amount of detailing on for how small those models are. It's looking really, really good.
I absolutely adore seeing Legions Imperialis on green battlefields, on grassy green, old school styled battlefields.
Yeah.
It hits me right in the nostalgia. I love it so much, and these are so well painted.
It's so nicely done. Yeah, these look absolutely brilliant. I also quite like the color scheme of the knights. It's blue, but it's got it's like a slightly turquoisey blue, so it works really well with the sort of emerald green salamanders.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it all ties together quite nicely. In the is it Legio Defense
Knight, the Titan.
Titan with the little bits of green on it as well.
Yeah.
Just that little bit just to pull the whole army together.
Yeah, it's really good. It's lovely, that. Really good. Be interesting to see how that goes. And then finally, Will has got back in touch again. So Will is another third Will. Third Will's here, finally.
It's another Will. I was thinking there's so many Wills. Perhaps we should fire at Will, and then we could get rid of some of them.
Oh, dear. Yeah. Will has been playing Ultramarines. Will has been playing Ultramarines, still hasn't hit 1,000 points, but started putting 3 or 4 minis to a base now, partly because it looks nicer, and to try and move things along a bit. Yeah, that's interesting. Don't always have 5. So, yeah, that's looking great. So, last time I think Will had only got 1 base, like a command base done. And now there are some tanks there, a little bit of terrain. All looks really, really good. So yeah, people are getting their armies all together. People are getting Legion's armies together. I'm feeling motivated to actually paint some tanks, and then I can field this.
You know what? Actually, looking at these ones as well makes me want to go and finish my Blood Angels. I think it's not. You've sort of described this as we'll have this whole contributions from the community thing as a way to help people motivate themselves. Actually, just looking at these Legions Imperialis things is motivating me to go and get them with my own.
Yeah. Agreed. Me too. Looking at that's like, you know what? I could just paint the bloody tanks.
Yeah.
Just do it.
It does seem like we've ended up with a lot of people painting loyalists. I don't think we've got any traitor legions in our Legions Imperialis.
Oh yeah,
I think you're right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
But,
We'll just have to tell all the Solar Auxilia people, sorry, you're
oh, yeah,
traitors.
they're all traitors now, yeah.
Solar Auxilia
Yeah,
are all
we
traitors.
need someone to fight, so we've decided you are the ones we're going to fight.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do that, though. Solar Auxilia seem to be the better army. I'll punch up some Ultramarines instead.
Well, they've got a lot more tanks available at the moment. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, look, thanks everyone. That's the first episode with both game systems. We'll see how this goes. As I said, you can join in on the Patreon if you want. You can send in your submissions. We will continue to build things and catch up with everyone in a month. So, yeah, lovely to see. I wonder if by next month we might actually have some armies ready to go, but I'm certainly going to aim for it. You can hold me to that. By next month, I will have the Legion Imperialis army ready.
Yeah, I completely I promise that I'm going to have an army ready for Legions Imperialis as well.
Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to get a game in. All right. Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. See you all next time, and see you all next time at home. Bye-bye.
Andrew
the cat. Bye, Andrew the cat.